Crawford is one of the greatest boxers I have ever seen, and I'll stand on it.
Terence Crawford just beat Canelo Alvarez decisively to become the new.
I think Bud Crawford is the Michael Jordan of boxing. I don't think Bud human like.
Just flawless. I mean, Terence Crawford.
Terence Bud Crawford is on my Mount Rushmore best boxers of all time.
I told y'all, man. It's the rest of the field. It's Terence Crawford and it's Shakur Stevenson. Man, I knew it already.
He dominated. I'm gonna be nice, and I'm gonna give Canelo 2 rounds. 2 rounds. Dominate!
Them voices got really quiet like they typically do when they get proven wrong, and they either try to jump on the wagon or they get very quiet and they start to retreat back to wherever they came from.
The definition of a puppet. A puppet is an object that is typically controlled by strings or manipulated by a hand inside of it. The purpose of a puppet is only to serve the puppet master. A puppet does not have a spine. It does not require one.
The puppets are calling for you. The puppets are calling.
Did you see what Terence Bud Crawford did to Canelo Alvarez on September the 13th? I mean, he dominated Canelo. He dismantled him. He beat him for all 12 rounds. It was the most impressive thing I've ever seen because Canelo was way bigger than Terence Crawford. Canelo was huge, and Crawford still destroyed him. The judges were against Crawford. The announcers were against Crawford. The size was against Crawford. And he still overcame all of the odds and destroyed Canelo Alvarez. Terence Crawford is one of the greatest boxers I have ever seen, and I'll stand on it.
What I witnessed last night was the greatest win I've ever seen.
That boy Bud, Terence Crawford, dominates Canelo Alvarez. Oh, the truth is that Terence Crawford is the greatest fighter of all time. He's greater than Roy Jones Jr. He's greater than Manny Pacquiao, greater than Oscar-De-La-Hoya, greater than Sugar Ray Leonard. He's greater than Floyd Mayweather. Terence Crawford, he destroyed the bigger man. Now that's boxing. That's what I want to see. That's boxing.
Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford. After watching the boxing match between these two fighters, you were told over and over again that Terence Crawford dominated Canelo Alvarez. You were also told multiple times that Canelo Alvarez was bigger than Terence Crawford. But is any of this accurate or true? Did Terence Crawford really dominate Canelo Alvarez? Did Terence Crawford even defeat Canelo Alvarez? Is Canelo Alvarez really bigger than Terence Crawford? Can you trust anything you were told by the tidal wave of people that have been repeating these narratives since September the 13th? Let's find out if you can. Let's find out who's the bigger man. You finally got to see how big Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford were standing in front of each other on fight night. In the first round of the fight, you had one of the lead commentators named Andre Ward tell millions of viewers that Canelo Alvarez looked bigger than Terence Crawford in the ring. But before we take you to the ring to see for yourself, we want to show you something interesting. It was a miraculous story. The story was that Terence Crawford moved up multiple weight classes to fight the much bigger man, Canelo Alvarez, touting Terence Crawford as the courageous warrior that was defying the odds to challenge an opponent that had a major size advantage. But what is a size advantage? How do you define it? What does it all mean? In this film, size will be determined by a 3-point criteria: height, reach, and mass. Let's look at a few examples of clear size advantages from the archives of boxing history. This is when Roy Jones Jr. moved up to heavyweight to fight John Ruiz. On the night of the fight, Ruiz had a 3-inch height advantage, a 6-inch reach advantage, and a 25-pound weight advantage. Extraordinary credit to Roy Jones for challenging himself in taking this fight versus a much bigger John Ruiz. Ruiz is clearly the bigger man. This is when Canelo Alvarez moved up to light heavyweight to fight the undefeated Dimitri Bivol. On the night of the fight, Bivol had a 5-inch height advantage, a 2-inch reach advantage, and he is clearly the bigger man. Extraordinary credit to Canelo Alvarez for challenging himself in taking this fight versus Dimitri Bivol. Bivol is clearly the bigger man. This is when Floyd Mayweather moved up in weight from 130 pounds to fight the undefeated Diego Corrales in his prime. On the night of the fight, Corrales had a 1-inch reach advantage, a 5-inch height advantage, and a double-digit weight advantage.
You heard Miguel Diaz saying, "We're going to stop the fight if you don't start throwing some punches."
Extraordinary credit to Floyd Mayweather for challenging himself in taking this fight versus Diego Corrales. Corrales is clearly the bigger man. This is when Vasily Lomachenko fought Devin Haney. On the night of the fight, Haney had a 2-inch height advantage and a 5-inch reach advantage and a serious weight advantage. Yet, he still got beat like a piñata by the much smaller man.
Oh, good shot. That hurt. He hurt him with that. On the inside from Lomachenko.
Extraordinary credit to Vasily Lomachenko for challenging himself in taking this fight versus Devin Haney. Haney is clearly the bigger man. This is when Terence Crawford moved up in weight to fight Canelo Alvarez. On the night of the fight, Canelo Alvarez has a wait. Now things are backwards. It's Terence Crawford that has a slight height advantage. It's Terence Crawford that has a 5-inch reach advantage. And it's Terence Crawford that actually appears to be the bigger man. We want to draw your attention to a critical detail. This is when Floyd Mayweather fought Canelo Alvarez. Look closely at Mayweather's arms and legs. In comparison, look closely at Canelo Alvarez's arms and legs. Canelo's arms, legs, and shoulders appear to be double the size as Mayweather's, indicating that Canelo is significantly heavier than Floyd Mayweather. This is supported by fact because Canelo Alvarez outweighed Floyd Mayweather by 15 pounds on the night of the fight, and you can see that Canelo is clearly the heavier man. Now, draw your attention to Terence Crawford. Look closely at Terence Crawford's arms and legs. Now, look closely at Canelo Alvarez's arms and legs. Crawford's arms and legs are not smaller than Canelo's arms and legs. In fact, Crawford's arms and legs may be a bit bigger, so Crawford has a slight height advantage, a 5-inch reach advantage, and by all fair observation, has appeared to be the bigger man from the first time he stepped in the ring to challenge Canelo Alvarez all the way to the night of the fight. So now, based on the same 3-point criteria of height, reach, and mass, Terence Crawford, by all fair measurement and all reasonable observation, is clearly the bigger man. But yet, in the first round of their fight at Allegiant Stadium, one of the lead commentators, Andre Ward, says that Canelo looks bigger than Terence Crawford.
Canelo looks slightly bigger than Terence.
But who is Andre Ward? Andre Ward is a retired professional boxer that converted to a boxing analyst and a podcaster after his career retirement. He's also someone that partnered with the same suspicious individual that Terence Crawford is partnered with, Victor Conte, who was one of the most notorious drug cheats in the history of all professional sports. By many, he is considered to be an intelligent man that mastered the art of making performance enhancement drugs undetectable. In the Balco scandal, it was discovered that Victor Conte distributed hardcore performance enhancement drugs to over 25 professional athletes spanning multiple sports, including football, baseball, track, and more. Conte was also known to distribute PEDs into boxing. The strange thing is that when Andre Ward partnered with Conte, Ward wanted to keep this collaboration a secret. Who is Andre Ward? Andre Ward is also a person that has been severely critical of Canelo Alvarez in boxing. Who is Andre Ward? Andre Ward is also a great friend of Terence Crawford. So this is the man that's on the commentary team of supposedly the biggest fight of 2025. A man that is completely biased towards Terence "Bud" Crawford. And this is the man that is trying to set a narrative that is beneficial to his longtime friend by telling millions of Netflix viewers that Canelo Alvarez looks bigger than Terence Crawford, even though this is simply not true. This is severely unprofessional. He is painting a false narrative to Netflix viewers in live action. Canelo is not the bigger man. In fact, if you're judging size from a 3-point criteria, height, reach, and mass, Canelo is not bigger than Crawford in any category. In our view, Andre Ward just broadcasted a clearly biased and misleading narrative to millions of Netflix viewers in order to make his good friend appear to be undersized and in order to make his good friend appear as an underdog. And we're just scratching the surface. Now, we're about to go to a deeper place. Now, it is time. Now, I want to really welcome you. Welcome to the beautiful city of Las Vegas, Nevada, where they say dreams come true. Welcome to Allegiant Stadium. Welcome to the Puppet Show. You've already seen the untrustworthy commentary of Andre Ward. And now we'll show you how the puppet show really took place. We will start off by identifying some of the most absurd puppetry that was done through the commentators. We will show you this quickly in a series of 9 acts. Then we will show you the real story of the fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. The acts will start off simple, but then they will increasingly get worse as the puppet show progresses. Act 1. In the first round, Canelo opened up well, pressing forward, landing a couple of hard body shots and pressing hard shots to Crawford's guard. Crawford also lands a clean left hand upstairs on Canelo. After these things occurred, the second announcer, Max Kellerman, inaccurately says, quote, "Everything that Canelo has thrown so far, it's been blocked."
Everything Canelo's thrown so far, it's been with force, but it's been blocked.
This is severely inaccurate. This inaccurate commentary was coupled with misleading narratives from Andre Ward that presented Terence Crawford as the smaller man.
Canelo looks slightly bigger than Terence.
This false narrative was spun multiple times during the fight, although you can see that Crawford is not the smaller man. Act 2. The replay after the very first round completely favored Terence Crawford. Canelo actually controlled the ring for nearly the entire first round, walking forward, landing multiple good body shots. Canelo's ring generalship and body work should have at least been given some recognition, especially since this is the first round of a very important fight. However, the replay did not show any of the work done by Canelo. Instead, it only showed Terence Crawford landing a left hand, and this clip was played multiple times while the announcers praised the one punch from Terence Crawford. This is only the foundation to what you're about to see next. Important note, during any professional boxing event, especially the big fights, it is very important that the commentators are intent on highlighting the work of both fighters competing, casting an accurate description of the action for onlookers. Our position is that the factors shown in Act 1 and Act 2 set the stage for a completely biased and inaccurate story to be crafted. A story that misled onlookers to believe that Terence Crawford dominated Canelo Alvarez. If you don't believe the narratives were misleading, it doesn't matter, because things are about to get much worse. Act 3. At around 1 minute and 38 seconds of the 5th round, Canelo Alvarez clearly slips a jab from Terence Crawford. He ducks underneath the jab and avoids it. Instead of acknowledging the good defense from Canelo, the commentator says, quote, "Good counter jab from Crawford," as if Crawford actually landed the jab.
Good counter jab there from Crawford.
Crawford completely missed the jab as Canelo ducked under it, but the commentator is praising Terence Crawford for a jab he did not even come close to landing. Act 4. The 8th round, Andre Ward again projects the narrative that Canelo Alvarez is bigger than Terence Crawford, which we've already shown you is patently untrue. Ward says, quote, "What you're seeing is that one fighter is bigger, not by much, but he's bigger and he's stronger."
What you see with both of these fighters is one fighter is bigger, not by much, but he's bigger, and he's stronger.
This narrative again sets Terence Crawford in a false underdog, false smaller man position, which would persuade onlookers to sympathize with Terence Crawford and view him as the courageous warrior. Act 5. Canelo Alvarez lands a heavy right hand around Terence Crawford's guard to the side of his head that clearly knocks Terence Crawford off balance. Instead of acknowledging the impact or force of the right hand, Max Kellerman decides to praise Crawford's resilience and punch resistance.
The resilience of Crawford, his punch resistance at this weight has been impressive.
Again, promoting a narrative that completely favors Crawford, especially to a casual fan or an observer that is new to boxing. Act 6. Around the 2-minute mark of the 10th round, Canelo Alvarez lands a sweeping right hand that knocks Crawford off balance again. Instead of acknowledging that Crawford was knocked off balance, Kellerman calmly says, "Good right hand from Canelo."
Good right hand from Canelo.
And Andre Ward, not only does he ignore the right hand, he goes so far as to undermine the right hand and says, quote, "Crawford's thinking, that's all you got," as if he was inside of Crawford's head himself.
Crawford said, "That's all you got?"
Again, crafting a narrative that completely favors Terence Crawford and diminishes Canelo's work, because this response from Ward suggests that Canelo's clearly landed punch was not effective. Act 7. Remember, in the 6th round, Canelo knocks Crawford off balance with a right hand, and Crawford is then praised for his resilience. Also remember, in the 10th round, Canelo clearly knocked Crawford off balance again with a sweeping right hand, and no one acknowledged that Crawford was off balance. The landed punch was even discredited by Andre Ward. So although Crawford was clearly knocked off balance more than once in the 6th and the 10th, in the very next round, the 11th round, Canelo and Crawford were trading punches on the inside. Crawford lands a good uppercut that doesn't hurt Canelo. However, Max Kellerman says, quote, "I thought I saw Canelo wobble a bit from one of those uppercuts on the inside."
I thought I saw Canelo wobble a little bit from one of those uppercuts on the inside.
So Kellerman completely ignored the fact that Crawford was knocked off balance or wobbled multiple times in previous rounds, but then he states that he believes he saw Canelo wobble from an uppercut from Crawford, even though Canelo did not wobble from the uppercut at all. This is an abhorrent job from the commentary team. We could show numerous biased acts in addition to the ones you were already seeing, but many acts were omitted due to our intentions with time. We will show you 2 more acts Then we will show you the real story of the fight. Here are the final puppet acts that we selected to display. Act 8. This is the most important act. This is extremely critical. By the 11th round, the unofficial judge, Skipper Kelp, had Crawford winning almost every single round. Skipper Kelp's unofficial scorecard had Crawford winning an essential sweep, 7 rounds to 3, and Max Kellerman states, quote, "So far, throughout the fight, Skipper Kelp's card has been reflecting what we've been seeing."
So far throughout the fight, Skipper Kelp's card reflects what we've been seeing.
This quote from Kellerman suggests that Terence Crawford had completely dominated Canelo Alvarez in the fight. Not a single commentator pushed back on this narrative. So the question is, if the commentary has been so unreliable thus far, with several errors and blatantly biased narratives, can you trust this unofficial score that's been presented to the viewers? Now, let's see how bad this really gets. The unofficial scorer, Skipper Kelp, presented a completely one-sided scorecard. But here's the most important part. Unofficial judges are periodically brought onto the live broadcast microphone to provide input on the fight. Here's an example of one of the most professional unofficial judges in boxing history, Harold Letterman. Letterman is the veteran unofficial judge that was a part of the classic HBO commentary team. Listen in as Letterman speaks on the previous round and gives credit to both Oscardelahoya and Fernando Vargas, casting an accurate and trustworthy description of their fight.
Harold, how do you have it scored through 9?
Okay, Jim, 5 rounds to 4, 86-85, a very narrow 1-point margin for Oscardelahoya. Jim, I gotta tell you something, Fernando Vargas, when he moves his hands like he did in round 9, certainly he's going to win these rounds. But like you called it, round 6, 7, and 8, easy for Oscardelahoya. It runs beautifully.
Harold, how do you have it through 6?
Okay, Jim, 3 rounds each, 57-57. I got it all even. I gave all the even rounds 2, 4, and 6 to Oscardelahoya. All the odd rounds 1, 3, and 5 to ferocious Fernando Vargas, who landed more power shots in those rounds. So it's the smooth boxing of Oscardelahoya in the rounds that he won, the effective aggressiveness and harder, cleaner shots of Vargas in the rounds that he won.
Skipper Kelp spoke live several times during the fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, and he did not say one positive thing about Canelo Alvarez's work throughout the entire 12-round fight. This is highly uncommon. Listen to this compilation of Skipper Kelp's color commentary on the fight.
Skipper Kelp, talk to us.
Right now, Crawford's just doing a better job of managing the distance of the fight. He's where he wants to be right now.
Point.
Skipper Kelp, what are you seeing?
Downloaded the data he's been looking for. He looks very comfortable inside right now.
Skipper Kelp, go ahead.
I just think that Crawford is answering the bell. Whenever Canelo does something, Crawford one-ups him.
As you've witnessed, Skipper Kelp only praised Terence Crawford, and here is what makes it all even worse. Skipper was brought on to speak live right after a round that Canelo Alvarez clearly won, which was the 10th round. And instead of summarizing any of the good work that Canelo Alvarez did in one of his best rounds, Skipper Kelp diminishes Canelo and praises Terence Crawford by saying, quote, "Crawford is answering the bell. Whenever Canelo does something, Crawford one-ups him."
I just think that Crawford is answering the bell. Whenever Canelo does something, Crawford one-ups him.
This is completely incompetent. 99% of the time, when an unofficial scorer is given the opportunity to comment on a winning round of a fighter, they do not praise the fighter that lost the round. When you understand that context, this shows severe biasness to a point where one could reasonably presume that these commentators are not interested in presenting an accurate professional narrative that highlights both fighters at all. This shows that they are likely interested in something else. Act 9. Act 9 of the puppet show came after the final bell tolled to end the fight. Immediately after the fight end, Max Kellerman makes a major statement. He says, quote, "Guys, we know what we just saw. Bud Crawford just beat Canelo Alvarez. Let's see if the judges agree."
Guys, we know what we just saw. Bud Crawford just beat Canelo Alvarez. Let's see if the judges agree.
He presented this statement as if it were an indisputable fact. However, to the words of the Exodus files, this couldn't be further from the truth. You have just witnessed one of the greatest shows in the history of boxing. If we were to grade the performance of the commentary team, the grade is undoubtedly an F. If you combine the unofficial judge's commentary and his scorecard with the other 3 commentators on duty, we would declare that the commentary team was slanted about 80% towards Terence Crawford and about 20% towards Canelo Alvarez, because these commentators spent a large portion of time ignoring or diminishing Canelo Alvarez's work while praising Terence Crawford and injecting narratives that position Terence Crawford as a false underdog and a false undersized competitor. Millions of viewers were told that Canelo was bigger than Terence Crawford, although you've seen from multiple perspectives that Canelo is not bigger than Terence Crawford. It is simply not true. The commentators made several convenient errors that favored Crawford, such as incorrectly saying that, quote, all of Canelo's punches have been blocked, and incorrectly saying that, quote, Crawford landed a great counter jab, although Canelo clearly ducked underneath the jab with good defense. You've seen this commentary team completely ignore the fact that Crawford was knocked off balance multiple times, then in the next round tried to suggest that Canelo was wobbled from an uppercut that literally did not wobble him. You've seen an unofficial judge that failed to give Canelo Alvarez any credit throughout the entire fight, even after a round that Canelo clearly won on his own scorecard. Instead of crediting Canelo, he instead decided to praise Terence Crawford, the man who actually lost the round. So what is the real story of the fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford? When you take away Andre Ward, who was a great friend of Crawford, when you take away a compromised Max Kellerman, and you take away the severely biased unofficial judge, Skipper Kelp, what do you get? You get a more accurate account of what actually took place in this professional boxing match. You get the truth. Now you get to relive the real story of the fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford without the voice boxes of the puppets. You also get to see the exclusive scorecard of the Exodus files. The real story of the fight starts right now. Round 1. Round 1 was a warm-up round. Canelo is spending the majority of the round walking forward and maintaining ring generalship. He lands several effective body shots and is throwing more distinct punches while walking forward. Crawford is spending more time moving back while landing a couple of jabs to the body and a clear left hand to the head. We scored round 1, 10-9, Canelo. Clear round for Canelo. Crawford landed a few body jabs and a clean left hand, but it wasn't enough to override Canelo's forward pressure, effective body shots, and overall activity. Round 2. Crawford is very active and effective with his jab and lands distinct body shots. Canelo is also doing very good body work. Canelo is landing multiple body shots while walking forward and controlling the ring. Crawford is landing well while moving backwards and laterally. We scored round 2, 10-10, even. The action was very balanced, therefore we scored the round even. Round 3. Crawford is doing a better job boxing and moving while working his jab. He's busier in the first half of the round. There's decent work being done from Canelo in the second half of the round, but Crawford countered well and maintained pretty good control. We scored round 3, 10-9. Crawford. Crawford did very good work in the first half of the round. Canelo responded, but it was not enough to override Crawford's work. Clear round for Crawford. Round 4. Crawford opens up very busy over the first minute and throws a lot of counter combinations. After the first minute, the momentum shifts. Canelo dials in the pressure and lands a hard punch to the guard, then lands a hard straight right hand to Crawford's face that knocks him back. There's good work from both fighters, but Canelo lands several straight right hands clean and also lands a hard right hand at the end of the round to punctuate the round. We scored round 4, 10-9 Canelo. Crawford controlled the first minute of the round, but Canelo controlled the last 2 minutes of the round while walking forward, landing multiple clean punches. 1 minute for Crawford, 2 minutes for Canelo. Clear round for Canelo. Round 5. Canelo opens up well, throwing the heavier shots to Crawford's guard. Canelo lands a decent sweeping hook and is controlling the ring by pressing forward in the first minute of the round. Crawford lands a very good counter shot. Canelo closes out the round strong with forward pressure, body work, and more activity. We scored round 5, 10-9 Canelo. Crawford was boxing and moving a bit, but his boxing was overwhelmed by Canelo's forward pressure and activity. Clear round for Canelo. Round 6. Crawford opened strong on the inside by staying busy and landing combinations to the guard and the body. Crawford lands a great left counter that snaps Canelo's head back. Canelo is pursuing, but not effective. Canelo is trying to pursue, but is still getting countered while Crawford is boxing and moving well. We scored round 6, 10-9 Crawford. Crawford controlled the round with great boxing and effective combinations, while Canelo pursued with ineffective aggressiveness. Clear round for Crawford. Round 7. Canelo opens up with more intent, walking forward, landing a hook that was partially blocked. Canelo is stepping forward, doing work on the inside. Crawford responds with a decent combination, but Canelo continues to press forward, landing decent body shots. There's decent work from both fighters, but Crawford is not doing enough to override the forward pressure of Canelo Alvarez. Canelo closes out with a good body shot while continuing to walk forward. We scored round 7, 10-9 for Canelo. Canelo controlled the ring for the majority of the round. Crawford didn't do enough to override Canelo's forward pressure and activity, landing shots on the guard. Round 8. Crawford opens up strong by landing a body combination followed by a straight right hand afterwards. Canelo presses forward and lands 2 good body shots. Canelo lands a partially blocked hook and Crawford counters with a good body combination. Canelo is stalking the entire time. Crawford is responding, but it's not enough to stave off Canelo's pressure. Canelo completes a good 3-punch combination moving forward. We scored round 8, 10-9 Canelo. Canelo controlled the ring the entire round. Crawford did not do nearly enough to override the pressure. Very clear round for Canelo. Round 9. Crawford opened very strong with a great combination on Canelo, followed by more great uppercuts and inside combinations. Canelo is returning fire, but not at the volume of Crawford. Now, the tide starts to change and Canelo lands a great combination walking forward, followed by a straight right hand that knocks Crawford off balance. Canelo is marching forward, landing good shots, but Crawford counters well. We scored round 9, 10-9 Crawford. Crawford had a very dominant first minute of the round. Canelo rebounded well in the last 2 minutes and controlled the round in the last 2 minutes, but he didn't do enough to override Crawford's work in the beginning of the round. Important note, in Crawford's corner, after round 9, Crawford asks his trainer Bomac if Canelo Alvarez is up on the scorecards. Bomac says, quote, "I don't know if he's up."
I don't think he up. But hey, but you gotta finish strong. You got 9 minutes.
If Crawford was clearly dominating, there would have been no need to ask this question. In comparison, Mayweather never asked this question throughout his entire fight with Canelo. He did not feel the need to. Last 3 rounds. Round 10. Canelo opens up strong and lands a good body shot. He presses forward, throwing a 1-2 combination while Crawford misses the counters. Canelo lands a hard sweeping right hand that knocks Crawford off balance. Canelo continues to press forward and Crawford lands a decent 2-1 combination. A good lead is landed by Canelo. Canelo pulls away by landing a good lead and a heavy uppercut in the corner, followed by combinations. We scored round 10, 10-9 Canelo. Canelo pressed forward the entire round, landed multiple hard shots, and pressed Crawford up against the ropes to do great work and land shots on the inside. Round 11. Canelo opens up with a mean body shot and presses a combination on the inside. Crawford answers with a good uppercut. Good combinations are exchanged, but Canelo pushes Crawford back with his combination. More combinations are exchanged, but Crawford gets the better of the combinations. An outstanding combination from Crawford is landed that pushed Canelo's head back a bit. Canelo is pursuing and lands an overhand right. Great uppercut and straight right hands land from Canelo and snaps Crawford back. Crawford finishes the 11th round with great combinations and foot movement. We scored round 11, 10-9 Crawford. There were great combinations and landed shots from both fighters, but this was a great round from Crawford because he got the better of the exchanges and landed the more clear punches throughout the round. Round 12. Final round. Canelo opens aggressively, but Crawford lands a good 3-punch combination and a good hook. More great combinations are thrown from Crawford. Canelo is pressing, landing shots, but not in volume. Canelo lands a good combination moving forward, followed by a good counter left from Crawford. Canelo lands a good counter left and a right, and later lands a good right hand. Another good straight right hand lands from Canelo, but Crawford ends the round, countering well with more combinations, activity, and precision. We scored round 12, 10-9 Crawford. Crawford overwhelmed Canelo with activity and combinations, and he clearly outworked Canelo in the 12th round. Great round for Crawford. This is the conclusion to the fight. The Exodus Files scorecard is 6 rounds to 5, 1 even, Canelo Alvarez. In reality, the even round that we have on this card, we scored round 2 for Canelo, but we wanted to demonstrate that even with an even round, Canelo wins the fight. Therefore, our real final scorecard is 7 rounds to 5, Canelo Alvarez. Canelo won more rounds than Terence Crawford by our observation, rendering the popular post-fight narrative of this match completely inaccurate in our view. This was not a robbery, and it certainly isn't an indisputable fact that Terence Crawford won the fight as Max Kellerman suggested. But our stance is that there is a very strong case that Canelo won the fight, and an even stronger case for a draw. Now, we will provide you with the most precise, accurate summary of what actually happened in this fight. Here is our final conclusion regarding this fight. Every close fight can be debated. However, the popular interpretation of this fight is so delusional, it leaves no room for productive discussion. Terence Crawford did not dominate this fight. By our observation, onlookers overreacted to the last 2 rounds that Crawford clearly won. Because of the fraudulent story that was projected throughout the fight, the last 2 rounds left an impression that led people to believe that Crawford dominated the fight. Most observers completely overreacted to the last 2 rounds due to the false underdog, false smaller man narrative, and the severely biased commentary team that casted Terence Crawford as the courageous smaller warrior. Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin 1 was not labeled a domination. It was correctly labeled a close fight. Pacquiao versus Marquez 1 was not labeled a domination. It was correctly labeled a close fight. None of the prior mentioned fighters received credit or praise for dominating their opponent. But strangely, Terence Crawford's situation is backwards. Terence Crawford had nearly every physical advantage, but he's receiving credit for fighting a quote-unquote bigger man. Terence Crawford was in a very close fight. Terence Crawford did not dominate the fight, nor did he fight a bigger man. Rewatch the contest for yourself. Many of you will be surprised that your new scorecards will reflect what you've observed from the Exodus files. This entire event was built upon a false narrative that was fathered by Bill Haney and crafted by Terence Crawford himself. This false narrative was speared forward by others who fed into it, and as a result, the post-fight perception of this contest is so inaccurate and so delusional that we now have serious problems within the sport of boxing.
Didn't I tell you, Crawford groupies, we don't play around? Didn't I tell y'all I've been in the business of boxing too long to sit up here and listen to this type of shit from Terence Crawford and Bill Haney? I told y'all we don't play any games. And now y'all got real problems, don't you? When Chef gets done with y'all ass tonight, Terence Crawford is going to be exposed for what he really did. And the ones that supported it are going to be exposed for what they really are. See, Terence Crawford and Bill Haney just tried to rewrite the history of boxing. But now all they've done was write the story to expose themselves. And they're right on time.
The puppet show continues to this day, but unfortunately for the participants, they don't know it yet. But the show is over.
Exodus files.